When we conjure images of ancient Rome, our minds often turn to towering gladiators, stoic philosophers, and emperors surveying a vast conquering empire stretching from Britannia to Mesopotamia. We envision the architectural marvels like the Colosseum, echoing with the roar of the crowd, or the intricate political theater of the Roman Senate, where destinies were forged and broken. We picture mighty legions, marching in disciplined ranks, symbols of an unparalleled military machine that imposed its will across continents. This is the Rome of marble and might, the glorious, often romanticized foundation of Western civilization, a beacon of law, engineering, and philosophical thought that continues to influence us thousands of years later. But beneath this celebrated facade of grandeur and power lay a profound shadow, a darker, far more complex reality that seldom finds its way into popular narratives. This hidden truth is one steeped in the stark realities of privilege, status, and the profound absence of personal freedom for those caught in the relentless currents of imperial desire. Before we dive in, just a quick ask. These videos take a lot of time, research, and care to create. If you're enjoying the journey through these forgotten corners of history, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. It doesn't cost you anything, but it means everything to the channel and helps keep these stories alive. Thank you so much. Today, we peel back the layers of ancient Rome's intricate social fabric to expose a particularly uncomfortable, yet historically vital aspect of its intimate life: the existence and harsh realities faced by male concubines. This isn't a story of mutual affection or idealized relationships often found in philosophical treatises. Instead, it's a narrative deeply embedded in the brutal mechanics of ownership, the casual cruelty of absolute power, and the vulnerability of those designated as mere property. We will uncover how the relentless pursuit of personal pleasure and the ostentatious display of imperial might frequently intertwined with devastating human cost, exposing a disturbing underbelly of a society that, for all its unparalleled advancements in law and engineering, was fundamentally built upon deeply ingrained systems of human exploitation. Prepare to witness a side of Rome rarely spoken of in polite circles, where dignity, autonomy, and even the right to one's own body were luxuries reserved for the privileged few, and a life of servitude, particularly in the most intimate of roles, was a perilous and often inescapable state. This journey into the shadows will challenge conventional perceptions of the Roman world, forcing us to confront the uncomfortable truths that coexisted with its celebrated glory. To truly grasp the dark truth about Roman male concubines, we must first understand the chilling mechanism by which these young men were forced into such a precarious and often horrifying existence. The primary, most brutal source of their acquisition was the Roman Empire's insatiable demand for enslaved populations, fueled by its relentless military expansion. As legions swept across conquered territories, from the sun-baked deserts of the East, teeming with skilled craftsmen, to the misty forests of Gaul and Britannia, yielding hardy, resilient captives, countless individuals were violently uprooted from their homes and cultures. Among the vast human spoils of war, young, attractive boys were often specifically targeted and highly valued as particularly desirable commodities. These were not merely individuals, they were human merchandise, destined for the bustling, chaotic slave markets that thrived in every major Roman city, especially Rome itself. Here, under the indifferent gaze of wealthy buyers, these young lives were paraded, inspected like livestock, and sold to the highest bidder, their former identities and freedoms extinguished the moment the transaction was complete. Beyond military conquest, some young men might have been born directly into servitude within Roman households, or tragically, driven into inescapable debt slavery by impoverished families as a desperate last resort measure to survive. Regardless of their origin, their fate was brutally sealed, their lives becoming the exclusive property of their Roman masters. Once acquired, the daily reality for these male concubines was an incredibly precarious existence, a constant tightrope walk over an abyss of vulnerability. Fundamentally, they were chattel, property with no legal rights, no personal autonomy, and certainly no voice in their own destiny. They could be bought, sold, traded, or even gifted as tokens of generosity at their master's slightest whim. Their value was often inextricably linked to their appearance, their youth, and their perceived ability to satisfy their master's diverse desires. While their primary function often revolved around satisfying sexual appetites, it's crucial to understand that the modern concept of consent simply did not exist for a slave in ancient Rome. A slave's refusal was unthinkable, punishable by severe brutality or even death, meaning any outward appearance of affection or willingness often masked an underlying reality of forced submission. Beyond sex, these young men frequently served multifaceted roles. They could be highly trained personal attendants, skilled cupbearers, talented musicians, eloquent entertainers, or even educated companions. Their beauty, grace, and accomplishments enhanced their master's social standing and demonstrated his wealth and refinement. However, this elevated position also made them intensely vulnerable. They could face arbitrary physical violence, psychological manipulation, and even fatal punishment not only from their masters, but also from jealous wives, resentful household members, or other enslaved individuals seeking to curry favor. Their very existence could incite envy and cruelty, making their life a constant negotiation of unspoken threats and capricious demands. The chilling epitome of this dark truth found its most prominent and scandalous stage in the imperial court, where the emperor's absolute power allowed his desires to literally twist and redefine reality itself. No single narrative encapsulates this terrifying dynamic better than the horrifying saga of Sporus and Emperor Nero. Sporus, a young slave boy, reportedly possessed a striking, almost uncanny resemblance to Nero's recently deceased and much lamented pregnant wife, Poppaea Sabina, whom Nero himself was rumored to have kicked to death in a fit of rage. What Nero did next stands as one of the most grotesque and infamous acts of imperial depravity, shocking even the hardened Roman elite. He ordered Sporus to be castrated, a brutal, agonizing, and irreversible act of bodily mutilation that forever altered the boy's physical and psychological being. Following this horrific ordeal, Nero publicly married him, orchestrating ceremonies, parading Sporus in empress's attire, and forcing him into a role that defied Roman law, tradition, and even nature itself. This was no legally recognized union. It was a deeply disturbing, performative display of absolute imperial power, the chilling ability to bend societal norms, subvert laws, and dictate even the identity of another human being to satisfy a tyrant's warped obsessions. Sporus became a living doll, a constant, visible symbol of Nero's unchecked tyranny, his personal grief, and his terrifying capacity for perverted desire, a tragic, dehumanized extension of imperial whim. But Sporus's torment, tragically, did not conclude with Nero's violent downfall. As a human possession, a mere part of the imperial household, he was inherited by the next emperor, Otho, who ascended to power during the chaotic Year of the Four Emperors. Otho, surprisingly, continued the same peculiar and deeply unsettling marriage dynamic, treating Sporus as his wife, further cementing Sporus's role as an imperial plaything. This fleeting patronage, however, offered no genuine respite or true escape for Sporus. It merely prolonged his agony. His life spiraled towards its ultimate, tragic conclusion under Vitellius, the emperor who followed Otho. Vitellius, a man notorious for his immense gluttony and casual cruelty, conceived of a final, utterly debasing spectacle for Sporus. He decreed that Sporus be dressed as a bride and forced to perform in a public gladiatorial show, where he would be ceremonially raped in front of the assembled audience. An act designed for maximum humiliation and a final, sadistic mockery of his previous marriages. Rather than endure such an unimaginable and public degradation, Sporus, in a final, desperate act to reclaim his last shred of dignity and autonomy, tragically chose to take his own life. His story, though ancient, reverberates with timeless themes: the terrifying consequences of absolute and unchecked power, the profound dehumanization inherent in the institution of slavery, and the devastating personal impact of exploitation. Sporus's forced existence and ultimate sacrifice serve as a chilling, somber reminder that behind Rome's celebrated glory and architectural grandeur lay a dark, deeply human cost, paid by those caught in the cruel shadows of imperial whim. After watching this video, what are your thoughts on how unchecked power and privilege might still lead to similar forms of exploitation in our modern world? Do you see echoes of this dark truth in the present day? Drop your comments below. We want to hear about your thoughts, and as always, please like, share, and subscribe. By doing this, it helps us keep bringing dark history to life and remember the forgotten ones. Thank you, and see you in the next episode of Dark Lore.